Blissful Badger. In the last few months, I've been working on a lot of different projects, and I've found I've come to a point where I have too many options, and I need to more focus what I'm working on. So in this video, I'm going to go through some of my ongoing projects, the projects that could be major or minor projects, and give some options on what maybe I should work on. And I would love some input of what you think I should add as my next 3 months of major projects. So for April, I spent most of the month working on terrain, and I got quite a bit of it done. But I didn't finish it. No. In March, I went through all of my different army projects and where I was and where I wanted to be with each of them. So my newest army project is my Chaos Dwarf army that I want to do for Kings of War and Old World and Fantasy, and overall just have a cool Chaos Dwarf army. I've put 15 hours into this army already, and I have a good number built, but I haven't started painting them, and I still have a long way to go with this. This is one of the major ongoing projects that I'm going to continue having in the background because I like seeing how it's worked on, and it's a solid project to work here and there on, and I've been enjoying said project. The same goes with my Tyranids. I've had this army for many, many years, and I'm going to continue to work on it. This year has definitely seen more models painted than the previous couple of years. I think I've already done 120 models, and I would love to get another 100 or so painted before the end of this year. Again, this is my favorite army, and I have less than half of the models painted at this point. I mean, Swarm Army's gonna swarm, right? And then for the other two ongoing projects, I have my Battletech and Marvel Crisis Protocol minis. When I decide to paint Battletech, I'm usually choosing a Star or a Lance, so 4 or 5 mechs to paint up. And when I'm painting up Marvel Crisis Protocol, I'm usually doing 1, maybe 2 at a time. So these are ongoing projects that have nice small groupings that I can do as I feel the need. So ongoing projects, I have 2 large and 2 small ongoing projects. So I feel that in a 3-month period, a quarter of the year, that having no more than 3 other projects going on is probably the right number. Whether I focus solidly on a full month of each of them, or if all 3 are available as options while working on these 2 large and 2 small projects on the sidelines as well, I feel like I need to not consider my whole room full of options and just focus on these smaller projects. I already plan on working on my orcs for Orktober, so we're going to actually take these off of the options for now, because I know that with my plan on painting 2,025 points of orcs in Orktober 2025, it's not quite something I need to work on right at the moment. But this does kind of make the point that I'm trying to make of having that focused time and project length should help me get through each of these things just a little bit easier. So, as far as some options, I'm going to go through my short list a little bit. And I think, as far as Warhammer 40,000 goes, the 4 projects that most interest me in the next 3 months would be to be working on my Knights army. I've had these for many years, and I could definitely put a solid month into that with some decent results. And I feel like I could probably get them fully base coated without doing any like weathering or anything, but I think I could actually get them to a 3-color minimum, maybe a little bit better, in a single month of work. I do have a color scheme in mind, so that wouldn't be the worst process to get them available to play when I want to. With the point changes, I still have over 3,000 points available to me, so I mean, getting all of those knights to a playable state and just worrying about weathering them later might not be a horrible idea. The next option is my Legion of the Damned. I started strong at the beginning of this year working on them, and I still only have 1 model completely painted and based. I still have several dozen models that are just primed. They still don't even have their first base colors down. And whether I'm trying to get all of them completed or if I just want to get them all to a point where they're ready for the flame work, I could see putting that in a plan and working towards that. From this angle, I can actually see I have 2 kit-bashed characters that aren't even primed yet. And they have seen gameplay. So I could focus on those. It has been a while that I've been playing with these, so maybe it's time to put them on the shelf for now and get them later. And maybe focus on something different for a while. The stall in working on them kind of makes me feel maybe they're not the right thing right now, or maybe I should just push through and get them all to that point where I can just do the freehand flame work. So that's my Legion of the Damned. Then we have my Necrons, which are a very simple paint scheme, and yet I haven't done any of it in the last couple of months. I have 1,000 points painted and based, but I have more that is ready for the second color. I've already based them in the color that they need to be. I just need to do the copper detail parts and the blue parts and the wash. And I don't know, it's been a little while since I've worked on them. They aren't a very hard project. Maybe I should focus on them for a little while. And then the last 40k army that I've considered in the next 3 months is my Eldari. I have several thousand points of Eldari, and I haven't actually tried to paint any of them in a while. And I think it might be a good idea to go through and, now that I've just rebased them so that they're all good, I could maybe do some Wraith units or some more Aspect Warriors or all of my all of the hover bike stuff. I think that if I just set aside like 500 points and painted them up, that wouldn't be a horrible idea. And then we come to several of the other options. I have 3 different armies for hordes. The monster version of War Machine, and I could easily build or paint some of those models. It's been quite a while since I've worked on those, so that would be a nice change of pace. At the same time, I don't know anyone who plays hordes, so it doesn't really have a huge pull towards doing so. But it did seem interesting enough to put on the table as an option. The next option is I have a lot of Weird's The Other Side models. It is the Earth-based version of Malifaux, and I think a lot of these minis could work as options for Trench Crusade. And so I could always take a few weeks and work through making a list and painting up some models for some potential Trench Crusade in the future. I have seen it played at the game shop, so there's a possibility that I could actually get some games in once I have some models for it. Trying to decide what models would work best in which Crusade roster would be a little bit interesting, but I think I have some very interesting models that could work. I just need to figure it out. Then we also have my starting bolt action armies. I've built a couple of models so far, and I have interest in building even more of them. I could easily focus on working a few of them up and maybe starting to paint them. This is everything I've built so far for the game, so it's not quite enough to actually play a game yet, even though they're still gray. So I think it has some potential. I have a lot of infantry, and just building them up is kind of interesting. And I can always use them as any other models I need in the future, being that they are just World War II minis. And then the other option is Horus Heresy. Being that Heresy 3.0 is coming out in the very near future, I could possibly get some games in if I had these guys painted and ready to go. And I don't know, there might be a little bit more interest in Heresy because of that. And I know I've not done very much at all on them for quite a while, but they're also just about ready for that next level of painting. And I could easily glue them to bases as soon as I was ready for that. I already know what color scheme I want to go for. I already know what basing scheme I want to go for. I already own all of those items. So it's just been a matter of sitting on the project. And if I chose to have 1,000 points fully painted, I could probably do that in a month or so. They're already built and primed, so that could be a fairly simple option. All 4 of these games are games that I don't get to play at the moment. I know 2 of them have some interest at the game shop I go to, but overall, these are 4 different games that have different rule sets, and I can explore them a little bit more in depth. or I can ignore them for another couple of months. And then the last 4 sets of options, I could always paint more Skaven. I still have quite a bit of Skaven left from the boxes I've purchased, and I could easily see doing another couple of weeks of work on them, especially since I could finish off the other Spearhead box that I did not actually finish yet. It has 4 models, I believe, to get painted before it's actually done. Then we also have Kill Team. I could work on some Kill Team options. So next up, I have probably 8 or 9 Kill Teams that I could work on. Kill Team does have solo play as well as co-op and versus. And so if I get some of the Kill Teams painted up, I could theoretically play some games with it, even if I don't find someone else to play against. So they take a couple of weeks between building and painting each, but I do have quite a few of them available. I have the Navy Breachers, the Mandrakes, and the Exaction Squad, along with the Vespids and another unit of Commandos and a few other things. So there are some options within the Kill Team as well. Each of those are smaller projects. Each are quite obvious in their full size and scope, and each will have a different color scheme. So they're closer to the smaller project list, like the Battletech in Marvel Crisis Protocol, but just a little bit larger. And then the last 2 options are Blackstone Fortress and Cursed City. I have 3 different Warhammer Quest box sets, and they're all built. And these guys are just waiting for some paint. I've not played Warhammer Quest. I was waiting until they were all painted for that. And I think that they could be interesting, and it could be fun to play through some of the missions. I don't know how often they could be used as a single player option, but we could try. Again, they're all built and primed. They just need some painting. And that's 12 different options that I could be working on. But yeah, as far as taking some models from my collection and making a smaller list of potentials for a 3-month period, I think these 12 categories are the most interesting ones, at least for now. And I wouldn't want to go beyond 3 months of planning. And I think just narrowing it down to 2 or 3 of these, plus the 2 large and 2 small projects that are ongoing, I think that will give me a much smaller decision option and make it a little bit easier to pick up the paintbrush or pick up the hobby tools and build or paint and get some more things done. Like, I'm definitely not unmotivated. I'm definitely making some stuff happen. But sometimes that decision to what project I'm working on next can be a little bit harder. So that's where I'm asking you. If you could pick 2 or maybe 3 of these projects, where would you place, what would you put highest? I could use a little bit of assistance here. And if this works out, I might be asking again in 3 months what I should be working for November and December. So there might be different options on the table. There might be continuations of things that were chosen, or completely the same things. Who knows? Who knows? But this was a smaller selection, and just even looking at this helps a little bit in deciding what the next project will be. So I hope you enjoyed this small insight into the pile of potential. And, I have lots of other things to work on. But these are definitely the ones that stick out the most to me right now. So, yeah. Here's to the next 3 months. Subscribe if you haven't, so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.